Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world-class Asian leaders, C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, and innovators who can provide insights from their personal journey to inspire you. And this is your host, Priyanka Komala. And for our listeners, a quick reminder to subscribe to us by following me, Priyanka Komala, and a Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast page on LinkedIn for your LinkedIn Live notifications. We're also on YouTube, Twitter, and your favorite podcast streaming platform. So feel free to leave us a review and a rating to let us know how this podcast is inspiring you to be a better version of yourself. And today, I'm so excited to talk about our 60th episode as part of our AI, which is Artificial Intelligence Innovator series. We have an amazing guest with me today, whom I'm going to reveal in just a quick second. Felipe Castro. Hi, Felipe. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you, Priyanka? Nice to be with you and see you again.
Thank you so much. Felipe and I go a very long way, and I've met him at one of the AI-related events a couple of years ago, and I've since then continued to see him grow and succeed with his passion to bring in artificial intelligence into our everyday lives. So super honored to have you as a special ally to the Asian community on our 60th episode of Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast.
Always. And there's a lot to talk about.
That's amazing. And I'm so excited for our listeners as well. So a special bonus to our listeners, you can win a free mentoring session. Yes, you heard it right. An exclusive one-on-one mentoring session with Felipe, who's the CEO of Emerging Rule, which is an AI-driven startup. He also has a couple of other startups under his belt and is an amazing person to get to know. All you have to do is drop in a question or a comment, and let's see who that lucky winner is going to be. Are you excited to meet our listeners, Felipe?
Definitely. Always.
That's pretty awesome. So, Felipe, let me get started with you as a person. So, to our listeners, as I mentioned, Felipe is the co-founder and CEO of 3 AI, artificial intelligence-driven startups in the fields of education, distribution, and computer software industries. As part of his profession, he collaborates with multiple global ventures and initiatives that focus on next-generation technologies and digital transformation. His career highlights include dual MBA, deep learning and virtual teaching specializations, and fellowships at some of the world's most prestigious business programs, including 1776 and Singularity University at NASA and Hyperaccelerator. Super thrilled, Felipe, to learn from the expert himself on the role of artificial intelligence in our everyday life. But before that, let me get started with some interesting aspect of you as a person. People describe you as someone who's very passionate about creating a difference in the world by taking the passion to the next level and putting it into action. Tell us about this dimension of Felipe.
Actually, that was a beautiful friend of mine, and she's Indian, actually. So that's the beauty of it all. We all interconnect. I'm extremely passionate of the fact that I'm working for humankind, and that's what keeps me going. Not for myself. I never say I develop for myself. I develop for future generations. That's what gets me going.
And what do you think has inspired you to be who you are today? Was there some aspect of your childhood or upbringing that's made you this passionate about artificial intelligence? The reason why I'm asking is AI is somewhat, to the outer world, not just the scientists and the research community. For the outer world, it's relatively new. It's been in the market for the last few years. So tell us about those dots that you've connected to be an AI leader.
This is going to be extremely deep, and the first time I say it anywhere. What brought me to AI? Yeah, thank you. What brought me to AI actually was death. I had a horrible accident where I was near death or dead, and just barely made it, and decided that I was going to dedicate my life to doing something helpful for humankind. And that's artificial intelligence, because for the first time in history, we have the capabilities of accurately optimizing all of our systems. And like I always say, artificial intelligence is the brain of every future system. So what's best than guiding that brain to do better for humankind?
That's a very deep and thoughtful memory that you've shared with us. First, I want to say thank you for being vulnerable to share that intimate moment with our listeners. And to a lot of people, like being your friends, we don't really understand what goes behind the scenes, right? That drives you to be so passionate.
Yes, passion. Well, people call it passion. I just call it another day. I wake up and I'm happy and I'm thankful that I get to do what I do and that I get to meet people like you and be in great shows like yourself and develop 24/7.
That's amazing. And for somebody who's known Felipe, whenever there's an issue at hand, he has this cool attitude that every problem has a solution. Right,
Definitely.
Felipe?
Definitely. I love those kind of people, the people that really see a solution instead of a problem. We're not surrounded by problems. We're just surrounded by solutions waiting to happen.
That's an interesting philosophy. So let's talk about the role of artificial intelligence in the field of education. What is your take on the role of AI in ed tech?
Yeah, artificial intelligence is transformational. So not only in education or education technology, but in every other industry or sector, artificial intelligence plays a huge role. Actually, for our listeners and those people that do not know, artificial intelligence is the engine of a new revolution, a new industrial revolution. And the link with the industrial revolution and education is historic. Definitely education systems change, but this time it's not going to be in favor of the industry but in favor of humankind, because artificial intelligence will transform our ways, not indoctrinate us. It will definitely go to the root of education, and that is really really enhancing our true selves. And I can talk about that for hours, but I know we don't have that much time.
I know quite days as well, right? And
Yes.
it's very interesting because it's shaping our lives in a very different way than what we have imagined before, and it affects, I should say, impacts our kids. The next generation who can really embrace this technology and create a better society.
Yes, it's not only that, it's already running the world, and we do not acknowledge that, but we need to recognize that artificial intelligence, although it it's improving, it's already out there. It's already performing beautiful outcomes for some of our main systems, my major systems. And now with this industrial revolution and the new age of digital world, it is a centerpiece of what we are going to become within the next probably half decade.
You have a very interesting take. People don't realize that AI is working behind the scenes just because of the fact we don't acknowledge. But I love the fact that AI is learning every day our habits, our patterns to make itself better.
Yes, you said a beautiful word, and actually that's the most important aspect of it all. It's not intelligence, the word that you should focus in. It's the learning part. So the machine is learning, the deep learning within the opportunity to recognize patterns and improve our ways is what makes artificial intelligence stand out. And regardless of the fact that we're going to get to AGI, to artificial general intelligence or not, artificial intelligence is here to enhance every single aspect of our humankind, of our ways, and of our interaction with the outside world.
That's very true. What is one application of AI that you really love seeing getting to the next level?
It's the improvement of recommendation, actually, because for the first, like I said, for the first time in history, we have the opportunity to study patterns and to analyze them, and then the machine recommends the so-called best outcome. So everything that has to do with optimization, search optimization is always beautiful to see how it's improving. And of course, I'm specialized in deep learning, so don't get me there because there's a lot to talk about that. However, machine learning is improving on a daily basis, and I wanted to correct you before when you said expert. There's no expert in AI because we're not there yet.
We're all learning, right?
We're constantly learning, so there's no expertise there. So people that call themselves experts, good for them, but I don't think that's the right. I'll call them specialists better.
That's a very great way to acknowledge, how you see yourself as an AI practitioner. Now, you didn't want to talk more about deep learning, but for people who are not into the field of AI but get to experience it as part of their daily interactions. How do you see deep learning at a very high level? Is there an analogy that you can give us that will make us understand it better?
Yeah, Dr. Ben Gortzel. I'm a deep fan and a partner and a business partner of his ventures, actually. I have to quote him when I say that, yes, artificial general intelligence, and that's the point where the machine is going to 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 reach our level of intelligence, is bound to work from a deep learning perspective. So what is important to understand is that deep learning is improving in a pace that we've never seen ever in history. And it has the capability, again, for the listeners that do not really understand artificial intelligence, not to be intelligent, because that's not the word, again, but to learn in a very exponential pace, and recognize patterns in very big data sets. Humans cannot do that naturally, and that's the beauty of it. We just need to coexist with deep learning or whatever is next.
That's very true. So let's talk about your role as the CEO of three different startups. Let's talk about Emerging Rule first. How did you coin the name Emerging Rule? Does it have any context behind it that you can share with our listeners?
Yes. We thought of the idea of rules always emerging, and that's the beauty of the loop of humanity. We're always finding new ways and improving ourselves and enhancing our systems. So there's always an emerging rule. And what a better way to explain what you're doing through artificial agents than applying the same emerging rule to your startup.
So
That
what do
word
you,
is powerful.
that's good to know. So what does Emerging Rule do? What's your core vision?
Okay, our IP is a machine learning LMS. It's a learning management system run by artificial intelligence. We recognize the skills of the individuals, and recommend from the machine perspective, of course, recommend the optimal outcome of their careers. And we're constantly training, and again, that's why I say I'm not an expert, but we have figured out a way to optimize our models as well.
So what is one leadership lesson you've learned handling multiple startups? Because a lot of times when I'm interviewing startup founders, you're already trying to catch up with the pace of leading one startup. But how
Yes.
about you handling like multiple ventures at the same time?
Being a CEO is extremely complicated, and nothing I would recommend to anybody that doesn't really have it. That they call passion, like you said. What I would say is that I had the beautiful opportunity of being born in a business family, so I already know that the CEO is the one that eats the hot food cold, and what's cold hot. So the point of that is that being a CEO is easier if you're a leader instead of a boss. So I do my best to lead, and to guide, and to work as much as, more than anybody else, because leaders work more than others. Bosses don't. Bosses usually tend to order and take a load from their backs. However, the for me, the best way to be a CEO is to lead the way, and that's by example, and that's by working together, and that's by acknowledging that, being humble, that sometimes we're wrong, so we need to we need to move forward, right?
Right. It takes a lot of humility and courage to surround ourselves by the smartest people.
That's the beauty of it, and yes, and that's a good point. Actually, I also had the opportunity of being mentored or trained by the best in the world. That's also something that makes good CEOs. Is the people that surround you. It's not yourself. And a company is the people that work. It's not the CEO. The CEO is just another position,
Yeah,
though it's very complicated.
The job titles and description only take you so far. It's more about how you carry yourself and treat people and get the best ideas to implement. I think that's where the secret story is.
Definitely, but in enterprise, we have the beautiful fact that we're improving every system with artificial intelligence now. So whomever wins the mentorship, I have a lot to say.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your role as part of the Forbes AI Artificial Intelligence Executive Advisory Board. What is your role there, and how do you see yourself making an impact?
Okay. Yeah, well, we have to understand first that Forbes is the capitalist tool, and they have done a great job in portraying the necessities and the resources for entrepreneurs historically over 100 years. So I advise a board, an AI board that specifically dedicates itself to a publishing that they have in its AI insight. It's to bring the best of AI and next generation to the common people, like for to make it explainable and to make people understand that artificial intelligence is not an enemy but an enhancement. And we have a lot of great content and great people to back that up.
I'm so glad you're in a very impactful position, so you can shape, how the perspectives of AI are evolving as we
I,
go into the future.
yes, and that's always. I'll say I'll rephrase JFK's quote. It's not what AI can do for you; it's what you can do for artificial intelligence, because we are the ones who are training AI. It's not the other way around. So it's very important to acknowledge again that we still have that huge power of shaping everything. It's not. I wouldn't say it's me. I just repeat what I learned from other great individuals, like you said, super smart people.
And something that we all can relate to as part of, where AI has been in the field of entertainment, say for example with IBM Watson, Jeopardy. How do you see the role of these kinds of mascots being in our everyday life, where people can relate to, hey, this is actually AI, but we don't really know about it.
It's already around and it happens, and I don't want to get there, but it's even in elections. But for example, you use a platform that is based on in AI algorithms and to recommend a certain reality. What you observe in some platforms is not the same thing I see. So you have your own individualized reality or world because of artificial intelligence, and that's unfortunately what has brought this detachment between our own humanity, and that's why I usually tend to tell to everybody, being an artificial intelligence specialist or developer doesn't mean that I will leave aside my humanity. Humankind is extremely important, whether now or 100 years from now. We need to find a way to coexist, not only with us, with ourselves, but also now with another agent, and that's the machine.
That's right. Tell me this, Felipe, you are a global leader and you work with partners across the globe. Have you seen any cultural barriers or resistance to AI depending on, the people's values and their perspectives on life based on the geographic locations?
At the end of the day, I will have to say no. And I have a beautiful story for that.
Go
Um,
for it.
yes, in Singularity University, when we met at NASA, I met people from all around the world. Literally, we were a cohort of 50 countries or so, and we saw ourselves in the other person, male or female, and we realized and understood firsthand how we are all the same. At the end of the day, there's no barrier. The only barrier, I would say, is communication, and that communication is fixed by finding a common language, and in my case, that's Python, a common language where you can interact with each other, and mathematics, of course, and it's completely neutral, and anybody can understand it all around the world. So that barrier is self taught, I would say, has nothing to do with cultural values. or human values, because we all have the same.
Sometimes the only enemy that we have is ourselves.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, I completely agree with that.
So tell us this, Felipe, have you ever had a low moment in your life? And how does it feel when you have these low moments, especially as a founder and a CEO?
I do my best to learn, and there's so many resources to continue keep your brain going and entertained. That you need to do your best not to never get to a low point. Always be positive, always be humble, always be conscious that you're, like you just said, you're not the last Coca-Cola in the desert, like they say, that you really need to interact with other individuals. And for doing that, in order to do that, you need to keep a very focused and happy mindset. And that's actually what took me to you. I met you because of that aura that you always share with others, and it was a beautiful moment because I could perceive that you're also a deeply self understood individual. You understand yourself and what you can give to the world, and you give it away, and that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. It's always nice when positive people radiate more positive energy.
That's a good way to see it.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the field of artificial intelligence. What kind of advice would you have for someone who wants to pursue a career in AI?
Okay, and learn about the applications. AI is not only code. You can code. You can be the best coder. And you can create the most beautiful algorithm. But as long as you don't know that artificial intelligence is a series of elements and resources needed to really apply and implement the outcomes, you're nowhere. You're nowhere. You can learn to code, and you'll go nowhere if you really do not understand what is the essence of AI. And the essence of AI is ultimately optimization, but optimization of what we understand as values. And that's what we lack at this point, and that's what we need to do. So if you're gonna get into AI, first study the 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 ways of understanding the applications of artificial intelligence and how they interact with our systems.
I
Study history, learn
Yeah,
languages, or something like that.
exactly. That's where I wanted to do a little bit of deep dive. What kind of resources would you suggest to our listeners?
So far, there's a lot of very good open source platforms that I'm not gonna give you names because unfortunately that will go against I don't know, our own values, because there's a lot of great ones out there. But as simple as just on the search engine, you just write open source learning material or something like that, and you'll have plenty of them, plenty of great universities, historically positioned, and they already have open source networks. So that's a beautiful word, and I love it. And actually, we're working towards that in an open source AI marketplace, global marketplace. So with our partners, of course. But I would recommend that search. Everything is out there. You just need to want.
Right.
Just
So I like the fact that it's not just the R or the Python programming language that you'll have to embrace. It's more about the impact the application that you're creating is going to have on your end users.
yes.
That really brings more context.
Yes, or
Yeah.
R to my friends that don't do Python. R as well. But yeah, it's not only code. It's not only code. And it's the other way around. You can see it backwards. What am I doing for what? And what applies to the level of AI at this point of in time? We're advancing exponentially. It's not recommended for you to move backwards. You just need to continue to add to what we've already developed.
That's very amazing. We have a fun rapid fire round for you, Felipe. Are you ready for it?
Bring it.
So you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind in one word when I say the following: role model.
Support.
What does happiness mean to you?
Happiness. Life,
How do you define success?
community,
What is one fun thing about Felipe that you can share with our listeners?
parenthood. I'm a great parent, actually. That's what I want to think.
That's nice. How do your kids think about you?
I'm very silly and funny most of the time.
That's pretty cool. We get to see your, the CEO kind of a personality, right? When you're in your professional setting, but at home it's totally different.
Definitely, definitely. They have a friend here.
That's nice. How do your kids, I'm curious, how do your kids see the role of AI? Like when their dad is, an AI practitioner, how do they perceive you?
My firstborn is an outside kid. He's going to school in a forest and or the beach. So I do my best to keep that balance. They perceive me as always connected, and they always see me connected. However, that connection has to be beyond the computer or the machine. It has to go. That connection has to go as deep as, let's bring back the human connection. And that's what I try to teach them by you go study outside, go to the beach. That's your classroom. And then when you come back, you see me connected. So there's a way to coexist in both
That's very
worlds.
true. That's very true. And I'm going to remind our listeners, if you're watching this live, please drop us a hello and you get a chance to win a free mentoring session with Felipe. And for those watching who are going to watch on replay after we post the live episode, you're still welcome to post a quick question or a comment, and we're going to keep the lines open for Felipe's mentoring session. So, one last question for you, Felipe. What is your native language and how would you describe yourself in it?
It's Spanish, and I would say that I am inestable,
What does that mean?
unstable, and I'm an unstable person. I really cannot stay still. I'm always finding ways or new things, and that's what I hope that your listeners will embrace is change and entrepreneurship and creativity and doing new things. That's the way we move forward, and actually much more now that this is the age of artificial intelligence.
That's very true. That's very true. Before we move on to the next question, I'm going to acknowledge a couple of our live listeners for you as well. We have Rubinia from Denton, Texas, and she wants to say this is a very interesting topic. Thanks, Rubinia, for joining us.
Thank you for joining, and here to help.
And Rubinia is a PhD student in computer science at the University of
Wow.
Texas.
Let's connect, Rubinia. Then I have a lot of friends in Texas, so we can talk.
That's awesome. And we also have Janani Rangarajan, who's joining us from LA. Hi, Janani. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Janani.
And Janani has an interesting comment. Love your backdrop, Felipe. Do you have any story behind the backdrop, especially with kids around?
Everything is numbers, and this is my favorite painting. Actually, it was commissioned
That's
because
awesome.
because everything around you is numbers.
That's pretty cool. I hope the kids love that.
They do. They do. They do.
That's awesome. Thanks, Janani, for that curious eye. It's always
Thank you.
nice when
Thank
our
you.
listeners see different aspects of my guests as well.
Thank you.
What is one takeaway you would give to our listeners, Felipe, for people who are in the field of AI, who want to make a mark in the field of AI, or even for our listeners where AI is working behind the scenes? What is one thing you want to say to them?
Let's bring our strengths together. Let's continue to include people in the development of artificial intelligence. Abundance only resides on diversity. There's no abundant world without diversity. So let's keep coming. If you want, you can contact me. You know my name now, and also sign up to Priyanka's podcast, because Curryup is currying you up for the new world, and she has some very nice, interesting conversations that will add up because, again, like I say, we're training a new world. We have the opportunity. We have a blank canvas, and it's dependent on how much we give ourselves to it.
It's the world brings you to a full circle. And it's always nice to have practitioners like you who are not just looking at AI as a subject matter. I know you don't want to use the word expertise, but beyond it, it's more about humanity. And that brings us to the concept of AI for good. AI, the ethical values behind AI. What is your quick take on the ethical values of AI?
I have to say that ethics are like I'll go back to your comment of cultural. Ethics are very cultural. What we need to understand is that we need to bring the human values. Forget about ethics and think about the humanity. What we have, our essence as a being. We need to focus ourselves and concentrate on bringing human values into the training of our AI. As long as we go that way, we will have a beautiful future.
That's very impressive. And how do you see the future of our, kids embracing AI in EdTech? Like with your own kids, how are you seeing that happen?
Artificial intelligence, again, through our model, for example, they'll have the probability and possibility to interact real time with an agent. And what that will make is that it will not only identify your skill sets, but also recommend you the better path. It's the ultimate and most beautiful parent. You know that your mom noticed that you like soccer and they take you to soccer classes or camp because they see in you something. Well, to say it simpler, it's like that. It's being a parent and being 24/7 focused in what you really have inside. So that's the most beautiful interaction, actually, the one that makes you grow.
That's very true. And I really love the analogy of parents and AI, right? So
Yes,
I hope AI would coexist with our parents to create a better future for all our kids.
it's already coexisting, but not the right way. Well, we need to balance it. We need to balance it and
That's
bring
very
more
true.
bring more information.
Well, thank you so much, Felipe. It was so wonderful to have you on the show. And I am honored because it's our 60th episode and we've been celebrating it with our theme, which is AI innovators. And I'm so super honored to have you as an AI tech startup CEO to feature you on Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast.
The honor is all mine, and I'm always happy to see you. And you're a wonderful person. So keep it up and keep spreading your love and your passion and your knowledge and your brilliance. That's very important because the listeners will understand that the future is them. It
Very,
depends on what you do.
that's very true. Thank you. And on that note, I have two things to share. One is actually have a quick comment from one of our listeners, which I'm going to flash. So this is from Rubinia, where she says she agrees with that the focus on finding what benefits humanity to protect and improve lives that can unite us and make AI progress. So do you have any
Definitely.
thoughts for Rubinia on that?
Yes, contact me on private. I want to talk to you. I really want to dig into this theme, and we need to continue to connect. I'm as humble as possible, and there's so many brilliant people that can come together and build great systems that we need to do it, and we need to do it fast because the exponential technologies grow like that exponentially, and we
That,
need to embrace our humanity exponentially as well.
that's very true. With that being said, we are at the end of our episode. Thanks, Rubinia, and thanks, Janani, for that wonderful engagement that you have. So the first thing I want to talk about is the key takeaway for our listeners as part of our 60th episode of Curryup Startup Podcast with Felipe, the CEO of Emerging Role. And he has a beautiful way in which he spoke about AI is not just about R or Python programming. It's the impact that these applications can have on our everyday life. So if you're interested in a career or looking to pivot, start thinking about the impact of AI in our everyday life and then work backwards to figure out what technologies and learning systems can be put in place. So thanks for that wonderful takeaway. And a bonus, which I really felt happy to hear, is have fun as part of the process, be it going to the beach or spending time outdoors as a leader. Those are some great qualities to start imbibing for you and for people around you. So thanks for those wonderful takeaways as well. And we have a lucky winner for that free mentoring session with Felipe Drum roll, Felipe. Are you excited to know who that is?
Definitely. Bring it.
All right. So that's going to be Rubinia. Congrats, Rubinia, on
That's
winning your
great.
free mentoring
Congratulations.
with
That's
Felipe.
wonderful.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect you offline with Rubinia so you can share wonderful insights on how AI can continue to help us be better humans.
Please do. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Felipe. And to our listeners, this is Priyanka Komala on your 60th episode of Curryup Startup Podcast. Again, thank you so much for your wonderful support, your kind words of encouragement. As a reminder, do subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe icon. If you're watching it on LinkedIn Live, do continue following me, Priyanka Komala, or a Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast page on LinkedIn and on Twitter by hitting that like button. And as you're hearing this podcast, feel free to leave a comment and how this podcast is inspiring you to be a better version of yourself. We're also on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. So feel free to leave a review and rating for us as well. And that's Rubinia saying, thanks so much. Happy to win this free mentoring session with Felipe.
Thank you, Rowena. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. So until another episode, which is going to happen tomorrow as part of our special AI Innovator series, we're going to have Deepa Karta, who is the CEO of Journeys and is working on improving employee engagement through gamification and AI. So super cool and excited to have her tomorrow at noon Eastern. So feel free to tune in and on another episode that's happening tomorrow. Until then, it's Priyanka Komala saying goodbye.
Goodbye.